Beautiful. So welcome to the Power of Self-Awareness, facilitated by the beautiful Nikki Lane, and I'd like to hand over to Nikki.
Thank you so much, Faith. I'm really, really excited to be here today to talk to you ladies. I just want to make sure everybody has a journal or a paper and pen handy because you are going to work on your own self-awareness today. I'm not going to talk at you for 50 minutes. You're going to actually use this time to create a little bit of self-awareness for yourself. So let me just share my slides and then we can get into it. And I'll just make sure I can see the chat. So if anybody has questions. And I'm actually happy if you want to unmute yourself and just jump in and interrupt me with a question. I'm more than happy to do that because I don't actually really want to make it all about me. This is self-awareness. So I'd love to make it all about you guys. So if you've got a question or some dialogue that you want to have, I'm more than happy for you to unmute yourself and jump right in. But let's just start with why we want to talk about self-awareness. And I talked about this a little bit in the overview of my presentation, but essentially as women, we put everybody else first in our lives, whether that's kids, careers, parents, husbands, friends, whatever it is, we kind of go through life doing what's expected of us, following the routines of what we should do and what we think we have to do, and putting everybody else first and filling all their cups, but somehow we end up leaving our cup empty. And it means that we kind of live our lives on autopilot, just, going through the motions of life. And we never really get to stop and think, well, hang on a minute, what is it that I really want to do? And what is it that's going to fill my cup and what's going to make me happy? And the reason we don't do this is because people hold that negative connotation of selfishness. So people think it's selfish, like women especially, we think it's selfish if we're going to put ourselves first. Whereas I'm actually flipping that and saying that if your cup isn't full, you can't help people from an empty cup. So if you've got everybody else's cups full, but your cup is empty, then you really have nothing to give other people. So you're just running on empty and sharing your empty with them, which is just leaving you with this, hollow, and I'm going to use the word unhappy, but it might not be totally unhappy. You might just not have the awareness of how good it could be if you started filling up your cup because you're so used to living in this way. And when we do have this self-awareness and when we can flip the scenario and have self-awareness and bring it in, the feelings that you get are confidence and empowerment, and you are happier in your life, you're more joyful, and your experiences are more enriched. So that's why I'm really passionate about it, because I'm going to share with you my story now about my life and how I became self-aware and how I lived before. So this is my little journey of life. And you might have similar circumstances. So at school, you go to school, you behave in a certain way because that's what the cool kids want you to do, or that's how you think you should behave, and you like things because that's what the cool kids like. So you start to, at school, form yourself into a mold that's not actually even really who you really are. My first boyfriend there in the middle, I actually went out with him because somebody said, oh, he likes you, and I think it's a good idea that you go out with him. At school, I had no idea what I wanted to do, so my mum said go to business college, so that's what I did. Then I met the guy on the bottom left-hand corner, and he wanted to get married. Oh, so I got married. Then he wanted to have kids, so I had kids. The middle photo is me. I was 27 and had my first baby. When I look back on that, I go, there was no way I was ready to have a baby at 27. And after that, I gave up work and looked after the two boys that I had because that's what was expected of me. At no point in any time during this life did I say, is this what I want? Is this what's going to make me happy? How am I filling my cup? I just went along with what was expected of me. But don't get me wrong, I didn't have this really unhappy journey of life. It's just that when I reflect back now with self-awareness, I just go, oh, things could have been so different if I actually had self-awareness back then. If somebody had taught me how to have self-awareness, I would have made better decisions that filled my cup more rather than just doing what was expected of me. So whatever happened at age 34, I have no idea, some little universal intervention. I basically woke up one day and went, oh, I'm married to a man I don't actually love, and I'm not living a life that I enjoy. I have no interests. I have no hobbies. I have absolutely nothing that is mine that I want to enjoy. And I think this needs to change. So at 34, when my boys were 6 and 4, I divorced my husband and became a single mum. And I went on a journey to discover who I was and what was going to make me happy. And I think that's a massive decision to make. And people at that point, if we're going to talk about being selfish, go, well, that was a really selfish decision. Like, you left your marriage and broke everybody's hearts, which is essentially what I did, for my own happiness. And yes, I did, because it was the best decision I ever made, because I cannot imagine living the last 20 years in the state that I was in back then. So 18 years later, I've raised 2 amazing, beautiful boys. I've met my soulmate and I married him 7 years ago. And I live a life now full of awareness. And awareness doesn't just, it isn't just something you get. It's like this whole journey of awareness, and it keeps coming. And every day I get more and more awareness around little things that I can improve my life and make my life happier. So I call my business The Change Journey, because it is about helping women gain this self-awareness so that you can be more empowered and confident. But the essence of it is self-awareness. And the reason that I'm so passionate about it is because it is so incredibly powerful, yet it's so simple. It's something that we can all access. And you know, I've done so many healing modalities and been to coaches and all these other things. And it's the same. One thing that I just keep coming back to is that this power of self-awareness is so incredibly important. So what I'm going to do with you today is we're going to talk about how we can get more self-awareness. But first of all, let's just have a look at what it actually is. So self-awareness is actually looking inside rather than looking outside. So it's actually just stopping what we're doing and taking this look into what we're feeling. So what we're thinking, essentially, to start with. And that is our thoughts. And our thoughts are obviously what we think on a daily basis, but also what our self-talk is what I'm trying to say. So when we have a thought like, oh, I look fat in this, or something like that, that is all stuff that happens habitually that we may not be aware of. So when we bring our awareness to our thoughts, then we can change the way we act, because our actions come from our thoughts. And then the crux of what we do, and the biggest part of self-awareness, is how we react to other people and external circumstances that come to us through our lives. Because we can do self-awareness and be in this beautiful little happy bubble of joy in our lives and internally, but stuff happens externally, and you have to then start to monitor your reactions to that so that you can keep this little bubble of happiness inside you. So let me give you a little example of this so that it makes sense. When I was with my first husband, he used to say to me, "You are the most impatient person in the world." And I used to say to him, "No, I'm not." I had no self-awareness. In my self-awareness journey, I realized that in actual fact, I am the most impatient person in the world. I want things done now. And what I've done is I've looked at that deeper and found out why I do that. And then being able to go, oh, okay, so my thought is X, which allows my actions to be Y, and my reactions to be Z, all because I am impatient. And when I took that, I was able to have this self-awareness to go, oh, that's actually a part of me that I don't think is really nice. Because the way I react to people when I'm impatient is rude, and it's demanding, and it's elitist. You know, let's take the example of you sitting in a shopping line at the checkouts waiting, and my impatience grows and I get rude. And that was a part of me that I went, actually, I don't like this part of me. So with the self-awareness, I was able to go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to change that part of me. So it allows you to go, here's the bits that I don't like. Here's the bits that I do like, but here's the bits that, I want to keep or I want to change or all that. Now, without self-awareness, all these things happen unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to put it. And what they've done is they've been drawn down through your parents, society, expectations of you, generational input. Like, it's all stuff that you've been fed as you've been growing up that allows you to have these make up who you are, of how you think, act, and react. So you're doing it on autopilot. And when we can bring in self-awareness and say, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore, then that's when you start to feel a bit empowered and more confident. So I'm going to take you through the process of how you can get more self-awareness. But before we do that, I just want to talk about two key areas that are really, really important before we go into the how bit. So the first one is to celebrate your good bits. So the example I just gave about being patient is a negative. And you will find that within self-awareness, a lot of it is looking for the negatives that you want to change, because at some point you go, well, I'm not happy with how I'm feeling at the moment in my life. So I'm going to bring in self-awareness to change that unhappiness into happy. So I'm looking for things that don't work. But in actual fact, when you start looking, you find all these really beautiful bits as well. And you go, oh my God, that was the bit I rocked in my life. And I look back at that life, and yes, I just had a negative connotation on it for you all, but I look back on that life and go, but there were some beautiful moments and some amazing journeys that I had and some beautiful interactions. And I created two amazing boys, even though I didn't end up being with their father. There's so many good bits. And one of the things that I see with women when I'm teaching them self-awareness is they're still looking for all the negatives and they're not acknowledging the positives. So when you start your self-awareness journey, I just really pray and hope that you can have enough awareness that you can look at your good bits and also say, you know what, yeah, that bit I rocked in my life, and I'm really friggin' proud of myself for doing that, because that is essentially one of the really important things that will help you enjoy your self-awareness journey better. The second one is perspective. And this one is so obvious, but it blows my mind every time I talk about it. And the thing about perspective is everybody has their own truth around what happened at a certain time. So for instance, you think about a relationship that you have and you think, well, the way I think, act, and react about that relationship isn't exactly how I want to be. But it's very easy for us to then blame the other person and say, well, it's because they're like this. But what actually happens is we all have our own perspective. So if an event happened and you have your perspective of it and somebody else has their perspective of it, they all come at it, you both come at it from a different angle, and you're coming at it with all that baggage of what I talked about before, your generational input, your parents' input, your society, your upbringing, your beliefs, your values, all those. They could be completely different to the other person that you're having this interaction with. And you're coming together and you're seeing this truth of what happened from totally different perspectives. And that's when we start having, well, but this is what happened and this is what you did. No, this is what happened and this is what you did. And we end up being in this cycle of blame and accusations with each other around something that might actually have been neither of those things, because it just became from your perspective. So the thing I love about perspective in self-awareness is when you realize that if you are feeling a certain way around something or an event that happened that involved somebody else, you can then bring in acceptance and say, actually, hang on a minute, what I think of that situation might not actually be what they think of that situation. So how about I cut them some slack? work on my issues around how I feel about it and not try and change them. Because in self-awareness, you can change yourself as much as you like, but trust me, you cannot change somebody else. I tried, it doesn't work. So let me show you the power of this perspective. Here we have a circle and a square. And this is in a gallery in America. So we start with a square. Same object. And it turns into a circle. So if two people were standing in that gallery, one person is saying it's a square, the other person's saying, no, it's a circle. And they're both right. And I think that's just so powerful for us when we're getting self-awareness, is that you can be right and somebody else can also be right. Let me give you another example. A really obvious one of the 6 and the 9. You know, it's the same number. The fact is in the middle. The truth is in the middle, that it sits there, but two people are coming at it from different perspectives. Even when we're looking at the same thing. Now, I want you guys to unmute yourselves here and tell me what you see there.
A weird
Looks like
car.
sorry, go on, Viv. Go on, Yvonne.
A weird car crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it looks like a giant pencil going into the windscreen of a car.
Exactly. Yeah. It looks like the pole has gone smashing into the windscreen with a pointy thing on the end, right?
Yeah.
We're all looking at the same thing and we think we're all agreed on that, right? That's what we're agreeing that it is. This is what it actually is. It's the pole behind the car, reflected, the top of the pole is reflected into the windscreen, and the cracks is actually the wires coming out from the top of the thing. Can everybody now see that?
Yes, amazing.
So how can we then, you know, it's just, we're all looking at the same thing, but it was wrong. So you're out, it's just something to be aware of when that you're coming through self-awareness, is that sometimes what you see from other people might be wrong. And the essence of this is you can't change other people, you can only change you. So let's go into how you can start to change you. The first aspect is attention. So with awareness, when we're chuffing through our life and we're living on autopilot, we actually aren't aware of what we're doing. So to bring our self-awareness in, and this takes a lot of practice and a lot of conscious effort, we need to be in the situation, but also then remove ourselves from the situation and have a look at it from a third person and say to yourself, oh, I just behaved in this way, or I just had this thought. Is that the thought that I really want to have? Or is that the reaction I really want to have? Or is that the action I really wanted to take? Because if it's something that I didn't like what I did, then perhaps I could bring in some awareness and start to change that. So it's this very much removing yourself from the situation, but also being in the situation. I can do it automatically now, but it has taken years of practice for me to do it. But it allows me to stop being on autopilot, have a conversation with somebody, but actually also be up here looking down on that conversation and going, ah, there's that. Ah, there's that. So it's a beautiful thing once you get it, but it takes a lot of practice. But it's something I definitely would like you guys to work on, because if you can't bring your attention to something in your life, then how can you change it or do anything about it if you don't have the status quo to know what you're working with? So this is the thing that actually says, okay, here's how I'm currently acting. Now, what am I going to do with it? This is something that you do through your everyday life. What I have also done as part of my change journey is created a deck of beautiful cards. And so within the deck of cards, I have 44 characters, and they each have a essence or a feeling or something that you can focus on at that point in your life. So for instance, I draw one a day. I'll go, okay, I'm going to pick truthful Tina today, and I'm going to just really focus on how truthful I am to other people, to myself, and to things that are happening in my life. So these cards allow you to bring your attention to a specific area when you're just starting out, because then you don't have to try and 360 be focused on yourself 24/7, because that can become exhausting. It just allows you to focus on one area. You'll also see they each have a flower, and so that flower essence comes in, and all the flowers have the healing properties around the same thing, which I'll show you a bit later. So we're going to use these cards today for you guys to get self-awareness in one particular area. So what I'd like you to do is just select one cut number for yourself. Pick 1, 2, or 3. You don't have to say, you can just pick it. And when you've all picked a number, I'm going to reveal the card, and then you're going to, beautiful, okay? So here is your picks. So what I would like you to do now is just bring your attention to that area of your life, just your attention. And just want you to write down in your journals or your notebooks that you've got now, what does that mean to you? And you'll notice that I picked these cards intuitively once I had the list of names, and I found it really interesting that 3 core principles came out. So in the cards above, I actually was going to show you the 10 different stages of self, and I can go back to that if you want. But these are 3 core principles. And the flowers are the gladioli for confident Carol, which means strength, and the dahlia for empowered Emma, and the I can't see because there's people there, the camellia for grateful Greta, who is that means gratitude. So I just want you to take 2 minutes and write down what that means for you. Just your attention. If you had to just bring your attention to your gratitude, how empowered you feel, or how confident you feel, what does that mean to you? And when you're done, just flick your little hands up on your things, or just put in the chat done. I'm just also conscious that we don't have a lot of time, so you guys can work on this after the session as well. Great, people are done. So that's attention. So now we go, okay, I'm going to focus on this area of my life. The next stage that we do is analyze. So now we've got our attention on something. Now we want to dig deeper. And what we want to do is really think about, how does this make me feel? Why do I feel like this? You know, what are my thoughts, actions, and reactions around this area of my life? Am I doing things that I feel confident in, or are they things that are lacking that I could maybe change and do a bit more of, or a bit less of, or something like that? What about reactions? You know, what if if we're talking about confidence and you are lacking in confidence, is there a trigger that happens for you where you react badly if people are kind of stinging into your confidence levels? So really digging deeper and asking yourselves questions around that topic. And I like to just ask the standard what, why, how questions so that you can go deeper. Now, the best way for you to do this, and that's why I wanted you to bring your journals today, is to journal. Because self-awareness is this thing that is incredibly honest, and it can be confronting, and it's personal. You know, you might have something that you're really embarrassed by or ashamed of, that you behave or act in a certain way. But the beauty about self-awareness is you don't have to share it with anybody. But that's why I encourage people to journal. And the way I like to journal is I write a question at the top. So for instance, if we were doing Confident Carol, I'd put it at the top and I'd go, well, why am I lacking in confidence in whatever, public speaking, for instance? And then I close my eyes, I tune into that question, and I just allow the writing to go. And I don't judge what I'm writing. I just let everything come out. Because the beautiful thing about us as human beings is we actually have all the answers inside us. I know we go and we look up answers to things all the time on the internet and to experts and stuff, but in actual fact, we all have every single answer that we need to solve our problems inside of us. We just don't go looking hard enough. And this journaling experience, when you actually let the writing take over and you kind of feel like there's this third world person writing. And sometimes I write in this bizarre fashion where I look back and I go, oh, they're not even words that I would normally use, but it's just how it came out. And then when you read back over it, you get these amazing insights and you go, oh, wow, okay, that's great. That's given me something really, really concrete to work with. I explained this to my eldest son, who's now 25, and he was having some challenges. And so I said to him, just start journaling. And I gave him the process of journaling. And he rang me, literally, I told him over the phone, and he probably rang me about an hour later. And he said, I've just spent half an hour writing in my journal, and I've got more insights than I have with my therapist for the last 6 sessions. And I went, I know, because that's how powerful it is. It's just allowing your insights to come out. And it's something that we don't do because we're always fearful of what we're going to find. And that can be something that's also very challenging in this analyze phase, is that your subconscious has kept the status quo for so long that thinks it's keeping you safe. And now you're going to start changing things. So it will send in fear to go, oh, hang on a minute, you don't want to go there. But if you can break through that fear and get to the other side, you'll get some really beautiful insights. And just remember, I'm not going to get any of you to share today what you've written or anything, because it doesn't matter. It's not for anybody else. It's just for you personally to gain insights for you on how you think, act, and react around a certain topic. So once we've had our attention on, oh no, we're going to analyze. So can you guys just go back into your notes and have a look, and now just ask yourself, why do I feel this way about that card? And even just close your eyes and allow something to flow for 5 minutes. We have time here. If you have questions, feel free to ask, unmute yourself. If you want to share, you can, but I don't expect you to. But just really allow yourself to go deep for 5 minutes. Give yourself permission. And know that you are in a safe environment within yourself to do that. Why do I feel this way about that card? Or why do I feel this way about that aspect of my life? What brought it on? Who brought it on? And again, just put in the chat when you're done. And feel free to ask any questions if you have them, or comments, or thoughts, or examples. Just one more minute. Even a thumbs up if you're enjoying the process. If you're gaining some insight that you might not have already known. Shh. Okay, I'm going to move on. I just want to give you an example here. One day, one of my clients got us to do a listening exercise. And the exercise was that you had to just sit there silently and listen to somebody tell you a story about somebody. And it suddenly brought my attention to the fact that I actually have no listening skills whatsoever. Or I had no listening skills. I couldn't sit there for 2 minutes and listen to somebody talk without interrupting, wanting to share my point of view around that topic or have something to say. And when I actually went deeper into analysing it, so that was my attention thing. And then I moved into the analyse part. And that was about, well, while somebody's talking, my brain is all it's doing is thinking, how can I respond? How can I make my point of view better than that? Or how can I relate to what they're talking about? How am I going to formulate my response? There was no listening whatsoever. It was all just about me, me, me. Analyze it a little bit further. It comes from my mother. And now when I have conversations with my mother, they go like this. Oh, Mum, I went to that restaurant the other day where you went. It was really nice. Oh, did you? Oh, it's such the best restaurant. It's so lovely. What did you eat? Oh, well, I started with XYZ. Oh, I had that when I was there. It was the best thing. And your father had this. And then we had that. And it was so good. And it was amazing. And we did this and we did that. And it was all about her experience. So it started off with her asking me about my experience at the restaurant, and it ends up being about her telling me about her experience at the restaurant, which I'd already heard that story because I heard it when she'd gone. My analysing realises that that's where I got my listening from. So then I make a choice and I say, I don't want to be my mother who just interrupts everybody. I'm going to actually work on this and start to change my listening habits. So that's how powerful this can be when you have your attention brought to something and you think, actually, that's not how I want to act, and this is how I'm going to change it. I have the beauty of my mother showing me what I could have been if I chose not to change it, which is also a very interesting dynamic. Beautiful. Thank you, Anna, for sharing in the chat. That's lovely. It's great awareness. And it doesn't, there's no right or wrong in this, you know, and it can be sad and it can be confronting, but it's powerful and it's beneficial. So once we have our attention brought to something and then we analyze it a little bit deeper, then it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this newfound information? So the answer is, well, you're going to have to take action. Sorry, rephrase that. You're not going to have to take action. You can choose to take some action if you want to. And I can't tell you guys what actions to take because everybody's experiences are going to be different. But what I can do is I'm going to share with you now 5 areas that you can focus on when you're choosing what actions to take and some considerations to make. And also just remember that whatever actions that you choose to make, they don't have to be massive, big actions. If you guys are a fan of Mike Dooley, if you've heard of Mike Dooley, he talks about baby steps. So it's just, what is one little thing that I can change today that's going to move me forward in this area of my life? It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to leave my husband because I'm unhappy. That, you know, I say that happened overnight. It didn't. It happened over the course of years and years of thinking about it and making a decision. So it's little baby steps that we can take. You just want to say, okay, today I'm going to make this action that takes me towards this result. That's all you're trying to do when we're looking at actions. So when we're looking at actions, things to consider is the first one is choice. And I've just harped on this about it a lot. You don't have to choose to change anything. You might find some awareness about something that other people might consider as a negative, but you'll go, actually, that's a positive in my life. If you look at the story I just told you about my mother talking about her restaurant experience, you'll find that if you looked deep enough there is a lot of competitive energy there. Another lovely trait that I've picked up from my mother is around this competition. I have to be better than other people, and I want to be good at this, and I need to be better. Beautiful example where I went overseas for 3 weeks and she looked after the dog for me at our house, and my adult son was living here. And she said to him, don't you think I'm a better mother than your mother? And he just was like, oh my God, that's how competitive my mum is. So I bring my awareness to that. I analyze it and say, actually, yes, I am competitive, and no, I don't want to be competitive like she is and against these negative things. But you know what? A competitive nature is also very good when you're playing sport or when you're doing something where you have to be better and you want to strive for results. So the choice comes in with, okay, I have this issue about competitiveness, so I choose where and when I change my competitiveness based on how I want to live my life. So just because you've discovered something doesn't mean it's bad and it has to change completely. You might just want to change parts of it, or you might want to change all of it, or you might just go, you know what? I'm actually just going to accept that part of me and not change any of it. So choice is totally up to you when you take action. When, how, what, it's totally up to you. And then that brings me to time, because this is a journey, and I started off by talking about my journey, and my journey has been 20 years of self-awareness, and it's still going. Like even the other day, I had this small little awareness around exercising in a different way. And it's empowering, because I bring my attention to this little part of my body and I go, okay, now how can I twist this a little bit more or do this a little bit more? And it's just this, the principles that I'm sharing with you today can come down into the little minutest changes of your life, which can really help to benefit you. So this is a journey. So take your time. Don't make big decisions. Just do little baby steps and be in the moment. There's a beautiful quote that says you can't have a happy ending at the end of an unhappy life. So you can't go through life hating your life and hating who you are and being disappointed of who you are, and then suddenly getting to the end and going, ooh, that was a great life. It doesn't happen like that. So you want to change your moments now and really look at your moments and focus on your moments. And I want to share with you this beautiful little video, which was a Subaru ad. And it just, it makes my skin crawl. Like give you beautiful goosebumps when I watch it, because it's just a really beautiful video on how we can be in the moment and bring more awareness to ourselves.
Yeah. Much training straight after school. Yes. Has anyone seen my math book? Mom, James is getting annoying. Are we ready to go, everybody?
I'd like to talk about moments.
Sure, go ahead. Pop your bags in.
They're happening all the time, and I love them.
James, can you please pick us off? These things take time, Mom.
Sometimes we miss them. It doesn't take much to notice them. You just got to pay attention.
Library bag.
I'm proud of you. Huh? Your laces.
My mum gets it.
At Subaru, every moment.
Nice. It's just about moments and being present in your life and really just living in the moment and choosing to do what you want to do and how you want to feel in each and every moment. So the next one is intention. Intention comes in with the choices that you make around what it is that you want to do and why you want to do them. Let me give you an example of exercise. I don't know about you, but for the whole of my life, I exercised because I was punishing myself or I thought I had to do it or whatever. I was doing it because, oh, you don't want to be fat, or that's the thing to do. You need to, be with the crowd, go to the gym, do all those kinds of things, play netball, all that. What I have found now that I'm in my 50s is I go to the Pilates. I do Pilates 3 times a week, and I do it because I love it. I do it because it brings me joy. I do it because it makes me feel good. I do it because I can do a day of gardening and I feel great the next day. The intention behind the choices that you make is so important. You want to really focus around the choices that you're making and make sure that you are doing something that you want to do because you want to do it, because it brings you joy and because it brings you happiness and makes you feel good. And if you're doing things and making choices because you think you should or you have to or other people are telling you to, then that's where you want to really bring your awareness in and say, actually, hang on a minute, what actions am I taking and what's the intention behind it? Because you don't want to be dictated to by other people. We've had that for too many years of our lives. The next one is opportunity. So when we think about our actions, sometimes we just sit in our little comfort zones of what we know. And what is really important too is to think about bigger and wider and go wild and really think about, well, if I have an action to take, can I do it in a different way, or can it be bigger, or whatever it is? For instance, we were looking to move house, and we kind of just were like, oh, well, we'll just move suburbs in Sydney. Why? Like when we really got to it, it was like, well, why would we do that? Oh, because we've always lived in Sydney. That's our comfort zone and whatever. But then I was like, oh, hang on a minute. If I bring in my opportunity, we could go and live in Italy, to be honest with you. We don't have any ties here apart from the kids, but they're going to travel and do their own things as well. So not that we have plans to go to Italy, but it was just like to go, actually, hang on a minute. I'm making decisions based on my comfort zone. How can I open that up and make my decisions and my choices and my actions bigger than what I actually know? So opportunity is really, really important as well. And then the last one is nurture. And this is when we talked about the analyze phase, about being really kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up. If you find things that when you're doing your discovery and you're analyzing that you don't like, so what? This is your opportunity to change it. If you fall into this trap of beating yourself up, then you're just going to go into this really negative spiral. Where actually what you're doing is empowering yourself to say, here's an area of my life I'm not really happy with, but how can I now take that newfound awareness and change it so that it blossoms into something that I really want to be? So nurturing is really, really important. Also because you want to maintain your enthusiasm through the long journey of self-awareness. You don't want to just try and do one and beat yourself up and disappear and go, yeah, Yvonne's saying self-compassion is so important, and it is. Like, you're doing this to make you better, so just allow yourself to go through the motions. But it also doesn't mean to say that you have to be Pollyanna and skip through life. Stuff is going to happen. So when stuff happens, it's about, well, okay, that happened to me. How can I change my reactions, or how can I do something that makes me feel better around whatever has cropped up in my life? So that's nurturing as well. The other thing is I talk a lot about you doing this journey on your own and it's self-awareness. You don't have to share it with anybody. But if you have somebody really, really close to you that you can share it with, then that's a beautiful thing as well. And they can help nurture you. And when I had decided that I didn't want to become my mother in so many different areas, I actually just engaged my husband and I said, well, I just want you to let me know when I'm behaving or saying something in these areas that I sound like her. And it just got to the point where he'd go, there, there. And he didn't even have to say anything anymore. He'd just go, that little one was that. Oh, great. Attention brought to it. I'm going to change that so I can then do it. So nurturing yourself and letting other people nurture you. So I'm just conscious that I've got 2 minutes and that is kind of the end. But I just want you guys now to spend a couple of minutes going back and thinking to yourself, what are 3 little actions or 1 or 2 little actions that you could take, taking into consideration those 5 areas that you could do tomorrow or today that could move you forward if you wanted to change that area of your life that you were focusing on. And there they are there. And if you hadn't noticed, they actually spell the word action. So if you can't remember them, that's how you can remember them. So the choice, the time, the intention, the opportunities, and the nurture. And if anybody wants to share an action, it doesn't even have to be in the context. It could just be ice cream gelato therapy. Beautiful. Love it.
Love that, Yvonne.
My kids are into the Messina. I've never had it, but apparently it's the best gelato ever.
So are we able to, did you want to do one more slide, or are we able to bring the women back now? Because I'd love to bring the women back now so we can share.
We can, and then I can wrap up at the end if you like. So let's do that.
Okay. Wonderful. So do you want to unshare and then we can just bring the circle back?
Sorry.
Wonderful. Thank you. Once I can see everyone. Brilliant. So did you want to add anything, Yvonne? I know that you wrote something. Oh, we've got a few things that anyone shared in the chat would like to add anything there. I mean, what I related to was the impatience. I got into that straight away. That's absolutely another one of my awareness is around grandiosity, believing the rules don't apply to myself. And I really loved what you said about perspective, because I think that's key, because we've all got this skewed way of seeing life through our own experiences, for sure. So that was great. And the card that I chose was number 1, around confidence. So I'm working my way through that. Okay, I'm going to go over to you, Yvonne.
I'm much older than a lot of you guys, and I've grown up and worked always in a multicultural context. So I think I'm becoming, from today's talk, I recognized a little bit of judgment coming into my responses. And I'm thinking, I wonder if it could be, we're all products of our environment and nurture and genetics and so on. But if you've grown up in a homogeneous context, you're not challenged in terms of your perceptions and points of view. And I feel eternally grateful, even though I might sound like a middle-class English woman in terms of my accent, and I'm often mistaken for that. And I have to tell people, you've got it all wrong. I'm a wog. And that background and my growing up, I look back all my years and think, I am so grateful that it happened like that, because I can see from many, many perspectives. And I really feel for Anna, who felt, she was so honest when she said she was betrayed in her emotional life and felt unworthy. And that's very painful. So I'm sending you lots of love, Anna. And I thank you all for listening.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Anna. Did you want to add anything, Anna? Because that was really beautiful of you, very vulnerable.
You're on mute, Anna.
We still can't hear you, Anna.
Can you hear
Oh,
me
there you
now?
go.
Yeah,
can.
good. Okay, great. The big betrayal I feel and I carry with me is myself. Like I feel like you spoke about not being a receiver of the great moments of your life, even though you were in them.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've come to be aware of. But I think the only way to get out of this stuckness is with self-care. It's like listening to your intuition, like putting baby step actions into play for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also just knowing that, now that you have that awareness, you can do something with it, and that's beautiful and empowering for you.
So what's the next step from awareness? Is it action?
Analyze. So it's attention, analyze, action.
Attention, analyze, action. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for today's session. It was really great.
Thanks,
Faith.
No problem. How about you, Zilla?
I picked confidence, and just a couple of things I've jotted down. Each day, have the confidence to make decisions that I have to or choose to, and having the confidence that I can accept the consequences of my decisions, because I believe any decision is better than no decision.
Beautiful. Amazing.
How about you, Shirley?
You're on
You
mute,
still
Shirley.
Shirley?
Sorry, guys, and thank you, Nikki. I picked the card gratitude, and I find there's always a tension. I aim to be grateful, and yet there are all these competing emotions. And it came up last week. I was at the Writers' Festival and heard Kate Grenfell talk about she's writing her grandmother's story, and like it was a beautiful day. I was with my book club, amazing session. We went to Kylie Kwong's for lunch. Like, it was almost a perfect day, and I felt this aching sadness throughout the day, and I'm trying to be grateful. And when I got home, and this is where it's really important that I start to write, because I was fostered at age 10, and I never saw my grandmother again. And she's a grandmother. It wasn't factored into loss, but I felt this sadness that she passed away during my fostering years. And so I'm going to write about that impact. So I think journaling is going to be really important to me. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Yes.
No, you're welcome. And I just want to say that's amazing awareness. Like, you went to that day feeling like you should be grateful, but you felt sad. So having the awareness that you could actually go, I don't feel grateful. Like, it was a beautiful day, but I feel sad because of XYZ, which is terrible. But the awareness around that is beautiful, because that's your empowerment moment, that you could have been grateful had this not have happened, but it did. And so now you can dive deeper into that and actually just explore those feelings a lot more, like you said. And that's going to be empowering for you and freeing as well. You know, with the more we bottle up, the harder it is. It just eats away at us. So the more we can get it out onto paper and just share it with ourselves, it's a really empowering experience. But having that, you didn't have to feel grateful, was really great. Amazing.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Great to hear you, Shirley. So I want to get Cheryl and Kathy in, because it's great to get everyone's voices in. And if you just want to pass, that's fine. But it is time. So if anyone needs to go, please feel free to go. And I will just go. You can always get the record now. We'll send it to everyone. So over to you, Cheryl.
Sorry, I was going to let that pass until I just heard the gratitude story. So I picked, but because I didn't know the numbers, I would never have picked gratitude. So when I saw them turn over, I went, I wish I'd picked number 1 for confidence. And because I have a thought, I'm grateful enough. Like, how grateful can you be? And something that I've come to believe is that it's really sold to women, this story of being grateful, that we should be grateful for what, like as little girls, that we're told to be grateful and be grateful for what you've got. And as I've aged, this kind of story around gratitude.
I'll bring you in about 10 minutes. Fine.
The story around gratitude is I've had a shift from, because I could be grateful but it felt like it was an act, or it felt like exactly like the previous person said, that I was kind of faking it, and it was like a mantra that I'd just say over and over again. But something that's really helped me is to just think, I'm grateful to myself for having, I feel like I'm going to cry, but created like safety for myself. I've made my life safe, and I've made a place of well-being for myself. So it's really, it took a lot to figure that out. Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but I couldn't let that pass, really.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. And the reason you've chosen that card is to bring your awareness to that, that there's a resentment around you for gratefulness, because you've been told so many times that you have to be grateful as a woman. So that's why you picked that card, so that you can work through that resentment, so that you can really appreciate your own gratitude to yourself 100%, as opposed to feeling like it's still something that you should have to feel, because it's not.
We're kind of faking it in some
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. So you never pick a wrong card.
I was annoyed that I got gratitude.
That's perfect. Even that, like, that's the attention bit at the beginning. Why am I annoyed that I've picked this card? Like, that's the perfect setting.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a gift. Okay, Kathy, let's go over to you.
Thank you. I chose gratitude card as well. And it was good timing, in the sense my brother passed away suddenly 2 months ago. So I'm sort of going through that stage of being grateful of having him in my life, but also grateful for the life that I have, and thinking about the impact of death. And, you know, being older and, you know, trying to look at the positive side of it, not just all the negative things, and what does death mean to me now for my life. So that's where I've been looking at being grateful for the good things, and being able to show that attention on good things as well.
Beautiful. Lovely. That's amazing.
Okay, Dali, do you want to join in? Sorry, Nikki, did I jump in?
Fine.
No. Dali, did you want to jump in? Okay. Sometimes she has problems with her video. She's had that the last few times. Okay, well, let's go over to you to finish us off, to wrap us up. That's great.
All right, beautiful. Let me just share my screen one more time. And I just want to basically say that what you just asked, Anna, here's your 3 A's for self-awareness. Is that you bring your attention to something, you analyze it, and then you choose what actions you're going to take. And that is really as simple as it is, but it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So I just want to share with you ladies what I do and how you can experience more. Obviously, I have the deck of cards, which are available if anybody is wanting cards. But how I don't do workshops. I actually do beautiful girl night in experiences or ladies night in experiences. And it's all about getting, because this self-awareness concept is so personal, you don't want to be in a workshop where you're sitting with strangers and having to share your soul. But if you do it in this beautiful environment of family or friends, then it's this lovely evening where we have some wine and some food and everybody shares and we go through this beautiful self-awareness experience together. So that's what I do. And there's more about it on my website. And there is my website and a QR code if anybody's into those, but I also just typed it up the top for you. So thank you so much for having me. I really hope that it was beneficial and you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. And please continue to work on what you did today, because you know, you'll be able to dive deeper when you've got some more time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nikki.